Hello, friends. Welcome to An Idol Called Food. This is your host, JT Tapias. This podcast is sponsored by EYBPlanFuel.com, supplements that make a significant difference in your life. Go to EYBPlanFuel.com, enter promo code PH413 at checkout, and get a 10% on any of your orders. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. And today I have a heavy one for you because I want to speak from the heart based on a conversation that was inspired by a recent conversation that I had with someone who's going through my program. She mentioned how the mechanics of nutrition were easy. Eat this, don't eat that. She said that's super easy, but she was still battling with the mental aspect of things, which I tell people all the time. 80% is psychology, 20% is mechanics. Keto, Atkins, South Beach, Whole30, macro counting, calorie counting, all these programs can be useful, but they're just mechanics. We need to really embrace an interdisciplinary approach that can allow us to really deal with the cognitive side of nutrition, which is such a big part. It's 80% of the equation. So she told me that she was basically sick and tired of being sick and tired. She had had a series of events in her life that had brought her to utter depression. She mentioned how she was ready to give up on everything and that the only reason she wasn't ending her life was because of her kids. Oof. When I heard that, it hit me hard. It hit me really hard because I have two little ones, right? She was really struggling, and I really had to pray before replying because the honest truth is that I totally knew where she was coming from. I myself, at one point, thought about just ending things. I just had no hope for myself or for my future. And I was thinking I was better off just taking my life. And so I understood completely where she was coming from. I was able to sort of transport myself back to that time. And so I took a deep breath and I tried to remember where I was that Sunday afternoon when I was really close to just giving up on everything. Nothing made sense to me. The world seemed like a very dark place. All the books that I had read, the conferences, workshops, the pep talks that I had given my friends, all the advice that I had given, it was not useful to me. I couldn't even think about those things. All the books I had read, all these things that I thought I had all this knowledge, I wasn't able to tap into those things. It was in that desperate moment that atheist kid that I was at the age of 31 who thought he had it all under control and that somehow, some way I had arrived. I came to my knees and I asked God to take the wheel because obviously I didn't know what I was doing. And I did that with a genuine heart. And even though I was in my darkest moments, right, that was such a deep pit, in retrospect, I think it was one of the most transformative things that has ever happened to me. I understand that pain is a greater motivator than pleasure. And so what I did was embrace that pain. And it was from that place that I was able to reply to my member. And I didn't coach her from a place of experience, but instead from a place of conviction because I had been there before. And so I told her to close her eyes and I said, no matter how hard, it is for you right now, I want you to think of one positive thing that's happening in your life right now. I want you to focus on your kids. I want you to focus on that blessing. I want you to focus on other things that you know that maybe are difficult to think about, but I want you to think about those things that are good in your life right now because they're there. We need to acknowledge them. And the reason I wanted to bring this conversation up in this podcast is because many of you struggle. Many of you guys wake up every day, and as soon as that alarm clock goes off, you take a deep breath, and you're probably thinking, here goes another day, right? You're probably thinking, I wish I wouldn't have woken up. And I know that sounds morbid and horrible, but I remember being there. I remember struggling. And when I think back now, obviously I'm not in that emotional place. So now I can think and actually apply some of my experience and the wisdom that God has given me. I think back and I think to myself, what's the first thing I would do if I were in a desperate place? If I were trying to reach for all my tools, experience, knowledge, and I couldn't tap into those things, what would I do? And the one thing that comes to mind, the one thing, of course, yes, pray. Of course, ask God to come into your life and to intervene in your life. Sure, all those things are important. But the one tangible thing that I would do, which is in my wheelhouse, is to activate my physiology. Now, of course, I know you're going to think, yeah, JT, you're biased because this is what you do. You're a trainer, you're a nutritionist, you've been in this industry, and that's all, you think through that filter. It's sort of that confirmation bias. I can only think through that filter. But the truth of the matter is that the saying that goes like this, it says, motion creates emotion, is so incredibly true. Oftentimes we try to change our state through food, drugs, alcohol, things of that nature, not knowing that actually activating our physiology. I'm not talking about lifting weights or running hard or doing anything where you're exerting a ton of energy. I'm just simply saying a brisk walk, taking some deep breaths, can radically change your state for the positive. Now, of course, when I think back to those moments where I was going through, such a hard time, the thing that if I could go back, the thing I would do is I would be at the gym 5-6 days a week, lifting weights, breathing hard, sweating, right? Causing intentional adversity in my life, which is what I call lifting weights. Because I know that automatically what that does is it shuts down that emotional brain. And when that emotional brain is fired up, it's so hard to think healthy thoughts. It's so hard to tap into our knowledge, our experience, our wisdom. It's hard to reach out to others. And so I'm not sure why I felt compelled today to speak about this, but maybe you're listening to this and maybe you're struggling right now. Maybe you're struggling in life. You're struggling in a career that is not satisfying. It's not fulfilling to you. Maybe you're in a marriage that's difficult and challenging right now. Maybe you're on a weight loss journey and you're experiencing all sorts of mishaps and temptations and triggers, and you just can't seem to get it together and you feel like you're in a place of shame. Maybe you're there. Maybe you're in that dark pit. And so what I would say to you is, number one, there is hope. And I'm not saying this from experience as a coach. I'm saying this from a place of conviction. I was in a very dark place and I came out of that place, and I've never gone back to that place. But the number one component that can help you get out of this dark pit is activating your physiology, bringing proper nutrients in. And of course, yes, praying, asking God to help you through the process, to help you with a grieving process, whatever it is you have going on. But the tangible thing, the thing that's in our wheelhouse that we can activate right away is that physical part. No one can keep you from doing that. All you have to do is execute on your will. Now, here's the tricky thing. When you're having catabolic emotions, when you're not feeling well, the last thing you want to do is move or do anything. Your body is completely shut down. So what needs to happen is you actually need to be proactive and actually get out there and do it whether you want to or not. And when that happens, all of a sudden you start getting anabolic thoughts. You start thinking better thoughts. You start thinking more useful thoughts. You actually get into a more you're way more, you're able to get out of the pit a lot easier. You can strategize. It's a more resourceful place, but you can't get into that resourceful place without activating your physiology, without moving, because depression is really being stuck and stagnated. And so the opposite of that is motion. And so this is a very basic, this is basic advice, but it's probably one of the most powerful things that I can tell you. If you're in a deep pit, go out every day for 45, 60 minutes and walk, right? Maybe put in some music, some music that energizes you, right? Go out for a walk. Maybe it's while you're walking, you're praying and you're talking to God. All these things are things that can get you back on track and provide you with more resourceful thinking than just sitting in a couch feeling sorry for yourself. And I'm not being insensitive or, I'm not saying that there's not a place for that, because yeah, if you have the emotions, you should cry and you should express your emotions, but you don't want to stay there. And so when you're ready to be resourceful, when you're ready to have better thoughts, get outside and move. And I promise you that things are going to look a lot clearer. You're going to be able to think more resourcefully, and you're going to be able to tap into resources that before you just couldn't see because your brain was just lit up at the time. Your emotions were super engaged. And so in order to cool down that emotional brain, we have to move. I hope you got something out of this. I don't know who I'm speaking to here. I don't know. Maybe you're listening on the other side and you're saying, wow, this person's reading my mind right now. This is exactly what I'm doing. Put on your shoes and get outside. Don't even think about it. And I promise you, you're going to come back feeling 10 times better with a lot better thoughts, more resourceful thoughts. And you're going to be thankful that you got out there. And so if that's your case, if that's what you're going through, I really, from the bottom of my heart, I pray that you'll get better soon. I pray that you will be edified and fortified by my words, and hopefully that you'll take my advice and you'll get out there and activate your physiology. My name is JT Tapias with an idol called food, and today we talked about the internal struggle and how to overcome it. I'll talk to you guys soon. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Ciao, ciao.